Boom, back to trading. I traded for Clans of Caledonia.
Devin is very proud of his trading.
I'm willing and dealing, right? Like, really, number one, my number one game of the month should be trading. Hey, I'm Devin.
And I'm Mary Kate.
And we're picking up pieces.
A channel all about board game pieces.
And how to pick them up. And in today's video, we're going to be giving you our February monthly recap.
So, we're going to do this a little different than we have in the past. We're just going to list off all the games that we played and then give you our top 5 picks.
Yep. So, in saying that, let me just rapid fire all the games. It's not many. I think it's 13 total. So, Brass Birmingham, Wonderland's War, Hanabi, Dwellings of Eldervale, Scout, Everstone, Hegemony, Blueprints of Mad King Ludwig, It's a Wonderful World, Suburbia, Arboretum, Clans of Caledonia, and Ark Nova. All 13 of those are our plays of the month. We enjoyed a bunch of them, but we're going to be emphasizing our top 5 plays that we've had a piece. Let's get into it with our number 5 play of the month, which for you, Mary Kate, is what? You don't even know.
It's a Wonderful World.
Okay. Which is a crossover because that's my number 5 play.
Oh, it is?
Yeah,
Look
It's
at
a
that.
Wonderful World. Yep.
He was like, we must keep our list secret before we film this video.
I wanted to be surprised by it. And I was completely surprised that we have a crossover right out the gate.
Yeah.
So It's a Wonderful World. First off, trade out to trading board games. I'm just now getting into that place in the board game hobby space where you're like, I don't want to use real money to get board games anymore. Let me just use the board games that I don't like that I have in my collection.
And trade them with other people to get games they don't like that maybe we'll like better.
Yep, so I traded a game for It's a Wonderful World and Suburbia, actually, which are 2 games that we played this month. It's a Wonderful World. Really like it. I think it hits a sweet spot.
Of like, it's light, but it's not like so light that it's like meaningless, but
yeah,
I don't know, I like the getting all the little things. And
again, like we've talked about this with many other games in the past, like it's just easy in the weeknight just to bust it out and just play a game of it, and like you can play 2 or 3 and it gives you a little bit of a mental workout, but it's not going to just drain you while you're playing it, or you won't feel drained after you play it.
Yeah, and drafting is fun, and I like it.
Yeah, so the game, if you don't know how It's a Wonderful World works, is that it's just a simple drafting game. And that's pretty much that and engine building are the only 2 mechanics in the game.
And I love engine building in general. So.
Yeah, so it's fun. Where you are just taking a card, and then whenever you get all of your cards after all of them have been drafted, which I think is 7, then you get to choose which ones you're going to keep, and you're going to try to go forward to build, and the ones you want to get rid of. Whenever you get rid of a card, you then get a resource that can go towards building. But once you allocate that resource, it has to go somewhere.
Yes.
Once you discard the card. And so you have to pre-plan what cards you want to start building towards. And once you build the card, they get to add into your engine, which will then produce resources one by one throughout the round. And so it's fun because the resources will come the same way every single round. And so you can pre-plan, like, oh, if I'm able to build this card by this time this resource hits,
then I'll have 2 more blue ones by the time we get there.
Which the blue is the very end. So once you build that card, then you'll get 2 blue ones at the very end of the production phase.
Yep.
Then once that phase is over, that's the end of the round, and you play the next round. And there's only 4 rounds in the game. So, and we've only played at 2 players. I would imagine just
it's
like
more
most.
fun with more than 2 players.
So it would be a nice game to just play, like, again, in the middle of the weeknight with your partner or your friend, or like to begin a game day, with something to kick it off. It's not going to be the main highlight of the game day, but it'll be a fun game to go. So that's our number 5. It's a Wonderful World. So
you should do your number 3 now.
My number 4, math.
4, yeah. Oh my God.
So number 4 is Clans of Caledonia.
Interesting.
So I really enjoyed Clans of Caledonia. Boom, back to trading. I traded for Clans of Caledonia.
Devin is very proud of his trading.
I'm willing and dealing, right? Like, really, number 1, my number 1 game of the month should be trading. But Clans of Caledonia is a game that's been out of print for a few years. I think it's going to be reprinted again in Kickstarter this year. At least that's the news around it. So keep your eyes out on that. But Clans of Caledonia, we played it, and Mary Kate smoked me both the times we played it.
It was a fun time.
I completely just messed up the first game whenever we were learning it. Like, all my initial instincts were just completely wrong. How the game works, if you've played the games Gaia Project or Terra Mystica, I've heard it's like a spiritual, like, successor to those two games.
I've never played either of those, so I don't know how it compares.
Okay, so I played Gaia Project once on BGA, and I never count that as really a play or me, especially whenever I'm trying to learn it. So I played that and I had no idea what I was doing. I played this and it took me a whole game to figure out what I was doing. I think it's considered like a medium to a medium heavy game. It's not terribly difficult, but you're going to get a brain burning sensation with this. What we're talking about is a wonderful world. You're not getting, it's not going to be completely draining. I think this game will drain you in a good way. Like, I really enjoy this.
Oh, it's fun. You put out your little cows, and then at the end of the round, they give you milk, and you can turn it into cheese, or you can put out your little grain fields, and you can make bread or whiskey. It's a fun time.
Because thematically, in Clans of Caledonia, you're Scottish clans that are trying to, probably around before the Industrial Revolution, or right before it, where you're trying to produce different lands all in this different areas in Scotland. And so the game is very loose, like, it feels very thematic, but you could probably slap a bunch of different themes to make it work, i.e. Terra Mystica, Gaia Project. But it definitely feels like you're doing what you're doing, and the game has, like, it's called Clans of Caledonia, where everybody is a unique clan, and so these clans are actual clans from like Scottish clans. I heard one podcast where a person was like, "Oh, this clan is actually my clan. Like, I'm from the same family that's in this game."
That's weird.
So it was pretty cool. But everyone has like their own unique powers, and the unique powers they're
so OP.
They're very and every power is game breaking.
Yeah.
So it's not like oh, it's unbalanced. It's just like all of it's unbalanced, which makes it balanced.
Where it's like you're playing it and you're like, man, my power is really cool. And then you look at the other person and you're like, I kind of wish I had their power. Yeah. Just a little bit.
Yeah. So the game, and you can still play your own game, but you have to play within your power, if that makes sense. And it still feels like you're playing clans. Like, it's not just straight up a different game, but it's still at the same time you have to use your power's ability, I feel like, to win the game. Or if you don't use it, I don't think there would be a way to win the game. And each different power emphasizes producing something different or building somewhere different. For example, where you're putting out your area in the land. It's very fun. In order to go in full detail on it, we would have to do like a review of just that game because of how much is going on in that game.
That's quite fun.
But we like it a lot, so that's my number 4, Clans of Caledonia.
All right, my number 4 is Wonderland's War.
Okay, nice. Wonderland's War.
I've talked about Wonderland's War before on this channel.
Have we?
Yes, how I was so excited, but it was never going to come because the campaign was late. And I finally got it at the beginning of the year, and we've played it a number of times since
really
then.
Like it.
We've played the heck out of that game. I'm painting all the minis. It's a fun time.
Yeah.
Wonderland's War is this beautiful game. I'll put a picture up somewhere. And basically you're just being different factions, either Alice or the Queen of Hearts, or the Mad Hatter or the Cheshire Cat or the Jabberwock, and you're fighting for Wonderland. So you do like a whole drafting phase where you get different cards and abilities, and it's a bag builder, so they all go in the whole thing. You play your chips and you battle each other. Yeah.
Yeah, the production's just out of the wazoo. Like, anybody you're showing it to are gonna be like, oh dang. This is beautiful.
Everyone we have showed it to is like, this is such a beautiful game.
We got it to the table twice with like 2 different couples, and one of the couples had a kid, had a kid that played with us, and all of them loved it so much. And so like, I was playing it, my favorite play of it was with the Andersons, that one of our friends, and just straight up smoked everybody, destroyed everybody, which I think was probably your least favorite play.
No comment.
So I smoked everybody. Even like the kid played Sienna and destroyed her. Just absolutely. That's how you have to treat kids in board games. No mercy. Amen. No. Okay. So definitely recommend that a ton, but it's difficult to get right now. Like, our other friends that we played with, they're wanting to do a copy and they can't really find one right now.
Yeah.
So
They got us.
Yeah. So if you guys ever want to play Wonderland's War, hit us up and maybe we might play with you. Maybe not. Don't be a creeper. So that's number 4, Wonderland's War. So to
Your
me,
number 4.
that,
Fought 3.
now it's to my number 3. I said that
Your
was,
number 3.
Oh my goodness. My number 3 is Brass Birmingham, which we also played that with. Who did we play that with? The Dippies.
Played that, yeah.
Brass Birmingham, that was the first time we played it at 4, and it shined at 4. Like, I would still play this at a lower play count, but it's so much better at 4 that I wouldn't necessarily want to play it at a lower play count. I was just
it's good at 2.
Yeah, it's good at 2, but it's so much better at 4. Like, the whole time I was playing it, I was like, man, this is so good. And that's in the face of me just doing bad through the whole game. Like, or in light of how good Mary Kate did. Mary Kate loves Brass Birmingham. And she just absolutely destroyed everybody. And for me, I was still with the other 2, like, in the same ballpark. But I was just, like, the whole time, I kind of, like, off in my own part of the map, which that's a bad sign. You want to be where other people are, you know? Because you want to start building off of the networks. If you've never played Brass, it's a network building game where you're trying to build up like waterways or railroads.
Depending on the era
that you're in, and then also producing different goods.
Yeah, it's set in the Industrial Revolution. Such a compelling thing.
It's a beautiful artwork, but it's a very dry theme. Yeah. Like, it's a beige Euro that without being beige.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
saying?
It's
like brown.
Well, it's not brown, I wouldn't say. It's like dark, or it's just very dark. Yeah. It's not beige, so yeah. But Brass Birmingham, that was my number 3.
All right, my number 3 was Arboretum.
Ooh, nice, yeah. Arboretum, like that.
Yeah, we've not played Arboretum in a few months now, I would guess.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Devin pulled it out the other day, I was like, ooh. I like this game.
Arboretum's really good, and it did not make my list. And the reason why I didn't make my list is because of Mary Kate. So Arboretum, I busted it out because I went to get coffee with a friend, and then I was like, oh, I'll bring Arboretum. We played it. I was like, man, this is such a good game. But Mary Kate is so good at hand management games that's enough. She'll just destroy me on that game. And so I played with her 3 times after I played it with my friend 1 time, and she just straight up destroyed me. But it's such a compelling game. Like, every single time, every decision point feels painful, which is really good in a board game or a card game in this sense.
It is a really good game. I like it. I like trying to keep it in order to score in Arboretum. So you have to make lines of different colored trees, and the artwork is very pretty. But in order to score your lines of trees, you have to have the most in your hand at the end
of that tree type
of the whole game. You have to have the most of that type of tree, the highest number in your hand than the other player. So it's this balancing act of how many cards are still out there that I don't know where they are. Can I play this in front of me so that I get points from it? Yeah. Or do I need to keep it in my hand so that I can actually score the points that I have on the board? And trying to walk that line of how cautious versus how risky do you need to play? Am I betting that the other cards are still in the deck and I've not drawn them yet? Or does Devin already have them? Like, I really like that.
It is so good. It is a really good game. Like, the balancing that they did in that game is excellent. Like you're thinking like the highest number of cards in your hand. So it's not just like, oh, 8 is the highest card and then you get it. Well, say if I have a 5 and a 6, it's higher. But to balance the 8, they have a 1 which nullifies the 8.
Yeah.
So like if the other person has a 1,
you don't want to just keep an 8 unless you've already played the 1 on the board.
It's so good. And the card play of how the trees are lined up, like, even though it's like, it's so unique. It's hard to explain without showing. Because like whenever you're making a tree line, trees can go through different types of trees.
And it doesn't have to be in a line. You can be like, 2, 3, 5, 6, 8.
Yeah, it's so good. Definitely recommend that game. But I can see that at the same time it might not be a game for everybody. So just putting that out there, even though we're giving it a high recommendation.
All right.
So my number 2?
Yep.
My number 2 play of the month was Hegemony. Hegemony, this is the only game that we don't own.
This is a crossover.
Oh!
My number 2 is also Hegemony.
Nice. Okay. Hegemony was excellent. Really liked it a lot. It's took a while to get used to playing it. We only played it
Yes.
once, and ever since I played it, I've been thinking about it, and I want to get to the table again, but we don't own it. So
Yeah.
we have to wait until the Andersons want to play it again.
Yeah. Or until we can all get together, because it's definitely a 4-player game.
So, Mary Kate, why don't you describe Hegemony to us?
All right, so Hegemony is this economic simulation game where all of the players play as like different classes or groups of people. And so you have the working class, the middle class, the capitalist class, and the government. And basically you're trying to influence economic policy as well as like business and the labor market and different products that are being produced in order to benefit your class and like make things better for you. So like I played as the lower class and I wanted more of a social safety net, and I basically controlled all of the workers. So like you had bunches of businesses, but he had no workers as the capitalist class. I had to provide all the workers. So then he had to pay me money for working in all of his stores. And so everyone's play is super different. The way you have to think about this game is completely different depending on who you are and what your role is. And it's so interesting how like the interplay between the different classes are as well as like the government, and it really kind of made you think not only about the game but then in turn makes you kind of think about just like how economics work and like the world as a whole, and it was interesting.
So 2 things about this game that I don't think other games can surpass this game. One is in this asymmetric abilities. Like everything about this game is about the different classes is unique to each player. Like I can't foresee there being a game that has more unique player powers. Like we had played Clans of Caledonia. It feels like we're still playing, like each of us have such strong abilities that we're still playing like the same game, where it's almost like we're all 4 playing different games that are still intertwined together.
100%.
The other game being like this is Root, I guess, or we haven't had much experience playing Root, so it's not a perfect comparison, maybe. But I know everyone emphasizes how asymmetric that game is. This game just as much, if not more so. So that, and then 2, I would say is the interplay between each of the players. Everything you do directly infects or affects the other players around the table. Like Mary Kate one time went on strike for one of my businesses that I owned.
Because he wasn't paying us enough money. Had to go on strike.
I needed all the money I wanted because I'm a capitalist. I want the money. So
gosh.
she went on strike, and in response to her going on strike,
I closed the business.
I sold the business, which
What a
then
jerk.
made all of the lower class go away and unemployed.
It made the ones who worked at that business be unemployed.
Yeah, so like that's what she got for going on strike. So like,
how dare you?
That is a very intense like play, and everything you do affects. So if you don't like asymmetric powers and you like doing your own thing like a solitaire game,
It's not it.
This isn't it for you. But it is weird because even though everything I do affects other people, I still feel like I'm able to strategize separately, which is weird. But that just might be because of our ignorance in playing that game, because we only had one player that game. Definitely recommend it. Like it a lot. So Hegemony, our crossover at number 2.
All right.
Before we get to number 1, let's tell you our most disappointing play of the month. Mary Kate, what's your most disappointing play?
So, you know how I said that one of my top games of the month was Wonderland's War? I think it might be one of my disappointing plays too.
Okay.
Historically, I have not loved bag builders because the bag builder luck is not with me. And that is not really struck yet with Wonderland's War, except this one play, this one time we played it. It was just like mathematically so impossible. The amount of madness I was pulling, I was just, I lost so hard. I was just kind of sad.
Yeah, and that was in light of how well I was doing, and you were exhausted because we played Wonderland's War right after we played Hegemony.
Yeah.
Hegemony was like a 4-hour game.
I was tired, and then my luck was bad, and then that's it.
Yeah. So my least favorite play of the month was Blueprints of Mad King Ludwig. I think I do like this game, but it didn't meet the expectations of what it could be, and it was more fiddly than I thought it was going to be. So in the game, like a lot of roll and writes, if you don't know what Blueprints of Mad King Ludwig is a roll and write or a draft and write. And so the game gives you a whole bunch of colored pencils, where most other games just give you regular pencils for roll and write, which is really cool idea. But one thing I found annoying is that you have to keep passing back and forth the different colored pencils.
We're gonna need to buy more colored pencils just for that game.
Which I don't like. Like, I feel like I shouldn't have to buy something extra just because of how much of a disappointment that is. And additionally, I think it's really cool that the paper is transparent, where you're able to take the card whenever you draft a building into your area and add it to your area. You put it underneath your paper and you just draw out the outline and then color it in. Well, that's really fiddly because you have to put it underneath the piece of paper and then try to hold the paper down while you're drawing. And so the whole situation is fiddly. And then also I would imagine that whenever you're playing Castles of Mad King Ludwig, which I haven't played, that it feels like you're building out something that's actually there. Like you're actually building out a castle. Where in this one, I'm just feeling like I'm putting shapes near each other. Not really feeling like I'm building out a castles. So there's a lot of those things that are like dings that I wasn't expecting in the game, that I thought I would actually like in the game, and I didn't. So that was all that was disappointing, but I still think I liked the game. It was just different than what I thought it was going to be. So definitely it's not a game that I would recommend to people at all. Like, I would just recommend you get Castles, even though I never played it. But I know for this game, you have a spatial puzzle, because you're working in a finite space, where in Castles of Mad King Ludwig, it's just mass expanding castles that isn't limited by anything.
That sounds fun.
So if you like the spatial element, then you'll like Blueprints for sure. So that was my most disappointed play. Let's get to number one. Mary Kate.
Number one.
Your number one play?
My number one play, Brass.
Birmingham.
Brass, Birmingham.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely my number one play. I didn't even have to think about it.
Yeah, like I knew that was her number one play.
That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that game.
Mm-hmm.
Brass, it clicks. It clicks.
Yeah.
It goes together nicely. I like the putting out the different routes and thinking through, okay, which gets me the most points, which types of buildings, coordinating what buildings I'm building with what I see other people are getting ready to put together so that it benefits me the most.
Yeah.
It was so fun.
Yeah.
It was a good game. We hadn't played it at 4 yet. We played it at 2 before, and I really like it at 2 as well. So when you were like, I don't know if I'll ever want to play this game, gave it 2 again, I was like, no!
Yeah.
We still gotta play it. But, it's good.
Yeah.
I like it.
Brass, that game just, when it clicks for AK, it just did not click for me. I think there's just rules I always forget every single time I play it, which then I don't remember it until later in the game. So I was like, oh, I need to play this game again soon because I think I figured it out, and I'll forget what I have to do. We haven't played it again soon, and I forgot what I remembered, what I needed to do better.
Oh, it was that you forgot that you could sell multiple goods in the same action.
Oh, yeah. And that's massive. A bunch of Brass players are going to be like, what the heck, Devin? That's huge. That's a big part of the game. That's why I didn't do great at the game.
Yeah, we were all like, I guess he just wants to do this fast. And I don't know, it didn't click to be like, we can sell more than one.
Nope, completely did not realize that. So, Brass Birmingham, definitely a good game. I mean, it's high up in, like, if we had a top 10 list or a top 50 list, I would be high up on both of our lists, even though I'm bad at it. I mean, so that's Brass Birmingham. Wait, you didn't have Clans of Caledonia on your top 5?
No, I almost did, but then I was on the fence about it.
Oh, I really like
it. It was a really big toss-up between it and It's a Wonderful World at the bottom.
Really?
But, I don't know.
I really like Clans.
Clans we played the most recently, and I thought it might be recency bias.
Okay. My number one, guarantee Mary Kate can't say what it is. Mary Kate, give one guess. I'll give you one guess to guess what it is.
Dwellings of Eldervale.
Nope. My number one game of the month is Hanabi.
I definitely did not pick that.
Yeah. Hanabi is so good.
I didn't even play that with you.
I know you didn't play that with me. I played that game multiple times with different people. It's so fun. So Hanabi is a really, like, it's a 10 to 15 minute game. It's my coffee getting game. So I go to a coffee shop and I might meet up with people. And then the game I'm grabbing to bring with me is Hanabi. And so, like, if we play a game, we're playing Hanabi. Hanabi's such a fun game where I'm just, like, holding out 5 cards. So if you never played Hanabi before, let me take it back. If you never played Hanabi before, all of you are buffoon firework experts, in quotation marks, where you're having to help each other out because it's the blind leading the blind. Because in Hanabi, you know how you have a hand management game where you get to look at your cards and decide what you're doing. It's the opposite. Your hand of cards you can't look at.
Only the other people, you have to hold it facing away from you.
You have to hold it facing away where everyone else gets to see the cards that you're playing. And they have to communicate to you what you have in your hand without...
They can't tell you.
They can't tell you directly what you hand. So in Hanabi, you can do one of 3 things. You can point at a person's cards and tell them you have 3 ones in your hand. Then you point at the 3 ones they have in the hand. The people have to remember that. Or you can be like, hey, you have 2 blues in your hand, and you point out the 2 blues that they have. And you think, okay, I'll be able to remember that for the rest of the game. No, you will not remember that for the rest of the game. You will forget at some point because you're trying to tell other people and you're trying to think about other things, and you'll just completely forget, which makes the game really fun. And so the other 2 things you can do is that you can discard a card, or you can play a card. Well, if you play a card and it's not supposed to be played, you're getting closer to blowing up because you have 3 lives in the game. In the games, whenever you're playing down cards, you have 5 different colors, all going from 1 to 5. And so you have to start with 1 and you have to end at 5. And additionally, whenever you are doing that, you have to remember that there's only so many cards in the deck. Yep. So you only have, like, for example, you only have 1 5 in the whole deck. So if you get rid of the 5 at some point, you'll never be able to play that 5 in that color suit.
And you'll get less points.
So it's such a nice little deduction game of just tension the whole time, where it's a laugh because you're trying to work off of that other player, thinking like, what they're trying to tell me, because they can't tell me everything that they want to tell me.
Oh yeah, you've got to think. They told me there's 2 blue. They told me there's 1 blue. Why? Mm-hmm. Why did they tell me there's 1 blue? Is it because it's a 1 and I need to play it now? Or is it because it's a 5 and I need to hold on to it?
An important thing, there's only so many guesses you can give. And once you get out of all your guesses, or you're telling the person what the information, then you have to either play or discard a card. Or I think discard a card actually in order to get a guess back, or a clue back rather. So it's constantly that tension. Is so fun. I remember playing it with Blake, one of our friends, and we did the worst I've ever done in a game of Hanabi. We died multiple times just for us to end on the high note where we got the highest score I've ever gotten in Hanabi. So fun, guys. Can't recommend that enough. And the game legit costs like $10. Like, I bought it at like a half price books and bought it for $5. Best $5 ever spent. So
it's a good game.
I definitely recommend it. That's our games of the month. Let us know in the comments below, what are your guys' favorite plays? And if you liked it, definitely give us a like on the video and let us know what you guys think about our takes on these games. So until next time, guys, we'll see you and we'll talk about board games again later. Bye.
Bye.